welcome to Biztechasia, Asia's hottest startup show. Now, this is a show where we feature high growth and high potential companies that may become unicorns in the near future. Now, our guest for today is Adrian Gilrandy. He's the co-founder and chief executive officer of Praktis. Praktis is based in Indonesia and is an end-to-end supply chain enabler that leverages technology to assist direct-to-consumer brands in optimizing their operations. Now, to tell us more, welcome to the show, Agil.
Sure. Thank you so much, Brian. I'm so pleased and honored to be here with you.
Now, Agil, for a start, could you take us through the Praktis journey from inception to where you are today?
Sure. Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much, as I mentioned before, Brian and Biztechasia, for this opportunity. I mean, this is a very rare opportunity, and I'm so pleased and being so honored being here today with you. And yeah, just quick intro about myself. I'm Adrian Gilrandy, used to be called Agil as my nickname. And I'm one of the co-founder of Praktis, as you already make a brief intro as well to our company. So Praktis, we position ourselves as a supply chain enabler in fashion and beauty in industry. So we manage kind of back-end supply chain end-to-end from procurement services, starting from raw material purchase, productions, logistic, distributions, and also taking care of end-to-end system for direct-to-consumer brands, primarily focused on fashion and beauty industries. So a bit context why we are doing here, because now we are partnering with more than 200 of direct-to-consumer brands in Indonesia. Especially, we focus on our market in Indonesia, because most of the players now are in a small and medium scale and rapidly growing so fast in the last 2-3 years, because this industry, fashion and beauty in Indonesia, is very kind of one of the most the hottest industry in consumer industry in Indonesia. But most of them are small and medium. Most of them just have a very specific core competencies, which is focusing on the marketing side, designing the products, know the customer very well, communicating the ideas and the product design to the customers, know exactly the trend, how the trend is going to be in the next few months or years, but they're lacking competencies in operations. Because most of the cases, most of the founders of these D2C brands are the creative guys. So they know exactly how to build a very cool products, but they're not operations guy. You know exactly that operations are boring stuff, right? And it's kind of the demons of creative guy, basically, because
Yes.
it's kind of a lot of standardizations there and a lot of calculations and everything. And we're talking about supply chain, end-to-end supply chains, from the very upstream side into the downstream side. And this is the value propositions that we are trying to give to the direct-to-consumer brands, that we can encourage them just focusing on their what they're good at. Beside the other side of the business, which is the back-end operations, that's practice stuff. So we know exactly that this is a very effective way, because we know that in supply chain and operations, scales are matters.
Yes.
And if you're doing by yourself, you can do it by yourself, but it's impossible to do it efficiently by one, because the small medium players are small by natures, right? The scale itself, they don't have the scale. They do not have the economies of scale. Through aggregations and collaborations that we made in the backend operations, the skills and efficiency is something that is basically can happen kind of in second.
Now, so here's the thing, Agil. You're in a hot market. Besides being in beauty and fashion, you're in a hot market geographically. So Indonesia's e-commerce industry is expected to contribute 50% of all e-commerce transactions in Southeast Asia by 2025. 50%. And you have an internet penetration rate, I think, of 73.8%.
Yes.
You also have online shoppers, which are rising dramatically. I think over the pandemic, it went from 75 million to 85 million. So all the metrics are essentially in your favor as a business itself. I mean, as an
That's
industry as a whole within your own economy. Now, tell us about the challenges and the problems really around the whole logistics and supply chain landscape, because Indonesia is obviously geographically very spread out.
yeah, that's that's a very brilliant question. I mean, it's a tough one, you know. It takes me a while to think what is the good answer to answer your questions, technically, Brian. But I think I just want to give a bit context that talking about practice and our industry is not fair if we're just talking about today, because we started this business basically is we are not a very young company. We started the business 6 years ago, 6 years ago, and the first 3 years we started bootstrapping. Why we choose that method? Because we know exactly back then in the last in the last 6 years, the market is not ready yet. Indonesian market is not as sexy as today, 6 years ago.
Mhm.
So the tractions is not there. The marketplace penetration is also not it's also not that high. Then we are having problem educating the market,
Okay.
because yeah, I believe that a lot of people say when don't start to a business when the market is not ready, because it's very tough, right? It's
Correct.
very tough. Yeah. Then but we chose that, but we chose that idea because yeah, if not today, if not that 6 years ago, we are nothing basically. If we started just now, basically, I mean, it's hard to achieve this kind of achievement so far. Yeah.
And I
So
think,
the
Agil,
challenge is,
if I may
yeah,
interrupt you also, one of the advantages that you bootstrap for 3 years is the fact that you are probably super, super efficient compared to other players who had a lot of money to start out with.
yeah. I'm not saying that you say that. I mean, yeah. I just pray to God that was true. I mean, efficiency is the key of managing the operations. But why we did bootstrapping in the first 3 years, because we know investment is kind of uh, it's not kind of just money. I mean, we call it I don't know what is the word in English, like it's kind of promise. When you took the investment, then you were agreed to make a promise with your shareholders, right? And we and me myself as one of the co-founders of the company do not want to make promise to anyone when the market is not ready yet. So we want to ensure first that our product market fit is there, the product is there, and the market is also ready. Then we try to make a giant leap afterwards. So in the first 3 years, we want to focusing on fine tuning the right business model, the right product, what kind of features that we need to implement in the industry and our customer segments.
Okay, and just to give context to our audience, because Agil is being very modest, after the first 3 years, between 2020 and 2021, I understand my research told me you grew 12 times, 12x. And then after that, from 2021 to 2022, you grew 4x.
Yeah.
What has led to that acceleration of your growth?
Yeah. So the first of all, I mean, we just need to thank God basically, because yeah, I don't say that thank God for give us the pandemic, COVID pandemic, right? But technically the pandemic is giving us an opportunity to accelerate the adoption rate to the customer segments, because it faster the timeline to educate the market. Through pandemic, everybody is having struggle doing business, right? And
Yes.
our idea is just makes sense. Even though in the first 3 years it's very struggle for us to educate the market. You need to do that. You need to collaborate. You know that basically our basic idea is collaborations and integrations, right?
Yep.
But none of business, it's kind of not a typical common practice that collaborations happen in this industry. Because a lot of people say when we do collaborations, it means that I share some kind of my backbone to others? What if my products would be copied by others? What if, and what if? And they're trying to protect their intellectual property, the idea, and everything. But what our answers is, the bigger players already do collaborations since maybe in the last 10, 12 years, right?
Yes.
We know exactly that big companies, big corporations, big conglomerates do collaborations. Why don't we, the small and medium players, do collaborations? Because without collaborations, you don't have the scale. When you do not have the scale, you cannot be efficient. So this idea just makes sense when the pandemic happens. And yeah, it tries to accelerate because when the early adopters there and the penetrations of the customers is also increasing, then the leap is there. That's why we can grow so fast in the last 3 years.
Okay, so one of the key things, Agil, is also this: you enable direct-to-consumer brands in beauty and fashion to grow. And essentially, then, as you said, uh, uh, basically you enable these creative types to come together. So they come up with the idea, they start a brand, literally overnight they can go to you and you are their fulfillment partner.
Yeah, yeah,
Could you
true.
give us some ideas or share some growth stories
Of course.
customers?
Yeah, this is the very compelling story that I'm trying to always very excited to share, because it's not just about practice, because we are helping more entrepreneurs to grow, and they grow very fast. Some of the example we have, okay, one example in fashion and one example in beauty. I'm very sorry, I cannot mention the name because we are basically entangled with NDA and a lot of agreements, right? Yeah.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, but just to give an idea that one of our fashion client started the collaborations 2.5 years ago with us, and in that year, his tractions is just roughly around 10K Sing dollar per month revenue.
Okay.
Yeah. But after joining with us, they could achieve more than 1 million US dollar revenue per month. That's what.
Wow. Over how long? That's amazing.
Only about 1.5 to 2 years.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Why it can happen? Because first thing first is through collaboration with practice. Now they can essentially focusing their focus only on two things, basic in the marketing side and product design, which is before with practice, they need to allocate all of the resources, divided it into some resources to operations, some capital to boring stuff like procurement, productions, and everything, right? And it's headache. When managing it at scale it's a headache. Yeah. And another story from fashion beauty, we know exactly that come to us roughly 1.5 years ago, or yeah, 1.5 to 2 years ago. It's just 15 to 20K. The size is kind of the same with the fashion brand that I told before. 15 to 20K US dollar per month. And right now it's already 10 800K 800K, yeah, 800 10 billion US IDR 800K USD per month.
That's a lot. How long did they take to do that?
1.5 years.
1.5 years.
Yeah.
Can I ask
And,
also?
and they can do that with smaller teams.
And that's an interesting. I was just going to say that. So how do they? So they do it with smaller teams because they just focus on the marketing, the product, and so forth. And of course, then from a capital standpoint, how do they fund this expansion in general?
So basically, the collaboration with practice is some kind of we can give a relaxation for working capital, for example, because
Okay.
we have a very reliable partners that also big players and also fully funded in the operation side, for example. Most of the capital for operations coming to working capital for productions and infrastructures for logistic and distributions, right?
Yes.
We are backed by partners who are reliable on the field, big logistic providers, sometimes big manufacturers and suppliers who can give term of payments, who can give a very good commercial terms to our brands, So typically they can purchase everything right after they sell the products. So
So,
it the cash flow management of the brands itself. So they grow super fast, they are cash rich, and they're big, even
so
though
this is
even
a
bigger
very
than practice
interesting
maybe.
model then, because you bring therefore more than just logistics. You're bringing a little ecosystem together so that if I'm an entrepreneur, I've got an idea, I've set up, I've sourced the product, I have designed the brand, I put the website up, I can go to you and basically you can help to turbocharge my business
Yes,
together with yourself and your partners.
that's exactly how it is. I don't know
Fantastic.
how smart you are, Brian, because we're talking just only for 10 minutes, then you know exactly what our business are. And
But here's the
it must be
thing,
very much smart and sharp.
Agil, you're the smart guy because you guys have just raised 20 million in a Series A round from East
Thank you.
Ventures and also for SMDV and Triputra Group. So congratulations. How
Thank
are
you.
you going to deploy these funds?
Sure. So the use of process basically will come to three initiatives. The first one is basically the straightforward one. We want to enhance our technology. What kind of specific technology? So we now extend our technology to the upstream part. So we enforce that all of the manufacturing partners, the suppliers for do the upstream part also use our technology. So we can make a fully feasibility end to end from the upstream to downstream. And these developments is kind of new. We can just do it right now because in the beginning we just focusing on the demand side. We're just focusing on the needs of direct to consumers.
Yeah.
Then we can aggregate the demand, right? Now we have the demand. We want to extend it to the supply side.
Yeah, and
And
of
in
course your
vector
margins will then improve dramatically.
you know, yeah, yeah. That's perfect. because because the holy grail is there. We want to do efficiency by making efficiency in the upstream side, right? Because it means more margin to us and more margin as well to our customers. Yeah, so that's the first use of process. The second one is we are technically building a strong team member. Yeah, you know that this company started bootstrapping. The main co-founders are not yeah, we are not complete. We need to be complemented by other strong people. And now we have the resources, we have the capital to hire the smartest guy, not only smart, but the right people on the bus. We don't say smart, right? Because it's not necessarily about smart, right?
It's
Yeah.
about experience, it's about
It's about
exposure.
experience. It's
Yeah.
true, true, true. And the
Now,
last one, yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, please.
yeah. The last one is just basically infrastructure to support that I already mentioned that we know the extension of practice business is doing more upstream side. So we want to tackle the aggregations. It's not only for direct to consumer brands, but we want to aggregate the needs of the manufacturing partner that we also partners right now. So if the initial idea just helping the brands in the consumer side, we know when we do the business in the last 6 years, we know that a lot of pain points coming to our manufacturing partner. They also need helps to aggregate the raw material procurement, to aggregate the production planning and inventory control. So we want to monetize this new business model because we know exactly this is the bigger business will be happening afterwards.
Now, Agil, I want to zoom in on some of the lessons that maybe you can share with other entrepreneurs. What do you think are some of the, say, 3 key lessons you've learned as you've grown this business?
Sure. Okay. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that this is kind of I'm not a preacher, so but so far that I've learned so much from this experience. First thing first is being an entrepreneur is not all about the money. So when you thought that okay, I'm an just ordinary employee before I started the business, but the reason why I quit from our company before and choose to start a company is because I want to make a bigger impact. I have a greater purpose, and it's beyond money. And it's primarily because a lot of, I don't say name, but a lot of my friends who are startups founder, why do you want to build a startup? Yeah, I want to be rich. Because from the funding, I want to have a new Mercedes Benz and new house and everything. But I mean, that's the misleading, the common mistakes of the first common mistakes of entrepreneurs, because it's not about the money. The second one is collaborations is important, but you have to be open-minded. Most of the problem, especially in SME, because our segment is very close with SME players, is opening the mindset. Everybody tries, I want to do it everything. I want to do it everything. Hey guys, you need to read more and watch more. Go to the US, go to the Europe, everybody is collaborating. Everybody's just focusing on their core competencies, because having a core competencies meaning you have uniqueness and you can be the winner on what you're good at. But if you want try to do everything, you can do it, but it's impossible to be the best in everything. That's why you need to collaborate, but pick the best reliable partners to collaborate. The third one is basically about, I mean, it's leadership. I mean, I don't have such kind of the perfect leadership thing because I'm still learning right now. But imagine that we started this business just only less than 10 people in the office, and right now it grows until almost 500 today. It's it's a very tough job. I mean, if you want to be a leader, then you need to grow as well, as bigger as the company goes. If the founder cannot grow, and the mentality of 500 people company is still the same with 10 people company, it will ruin everything. I mean, because totally what I'm doing right now is totally different compared to what I was doing 6 years ago. I think that's all.
Akhil, those are three great lessons that I think all of us entrepreneurs can share. Akhil, it's been a fascinating conversation. Thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I'm Brian Fernandez, and we've been speaking to Adrian Gilrandy. He's the co-founder and chief executive officer of Praktis on Biztechasia hottest startup show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our social media platforms. It'll also be on our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.